Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. We appreciate you and all you guys do at PCCF.
Thank you.
Time I would like to introduce Carol Horner with Synchronicity.
Also want to note, I just saw Brooke popped in.
Thank you.
So I'm Carol Horner. I own a company here in Council Bluffs, actually right above the chamber building, in the upstairs there, called Synchronicity, for the past almost 23 years. I started it when I was 12. Do the math. Now my gray hair just totally blows that whole lie. My job is to help organizations be in sync, and I do that through helping their people work better together. And I do that through several tools that I bring to the table. One is a personality assessment, series of personality assessments called Everything DISC, a team assessment called 5 Behaviors, which is based off Patrick Lencioni's work, and the Spiral of Accountability, which is my own thing, the tool that I bring to the table. And that's been my passion, and uplifting women. I've been a woman-owned business for almost 23 years, and I did that because I worked in men's environments, and I was tired of being pigeonholed into what I was limited to be able to do. And the only way I was going to get to grow was to just do the darn thing myself. And so I came back home to do that. I was in Texas at the time, but this is where I grew up. I'm a raised Council Bluffs kid, South Ender. And so this has always been an important thing. So this Inspiring Women, I've been to a lot of these events, and I thought it was worthy of some investment. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. We appreciate all you do as well. At this time, Brooke Hubbard with The Hub, our presenting sponsor. Brooke, if you could say a few words as well.
Hi, you guys. How is everyone?
Very good.
Good. I'm going to try to connect my video. It would not connect earlier, so hang on one second.
I feel like it's been so long since we've been on Zoom, all these technical difficulties. So I'm in the same you are, Brooke.
Yes, I don't know. It's showing me that I am on, but I do not see any video. So I apologize if that is not showing up for you guys. My name is Brooke Hubbard, and I own a family entertainment center, trampoline park in Council Bluffs. And, I've been part of the chamber board for many years and served as our board president last year. And I've just really enjoyed the Women Inspiring Women events. I think still trying to transition through COVID and virtual meetings is tough, and connecting as females and feeling like we have other people kind of in our corner going through similar things with us. I really enjoy hearing our speakers. I really enjoy, hearing the questions that the audience asks. And so I just love these Women Inspiring Women events, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. We definitely appreciate all you do as well. So again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon regarding our Women Inspiring Women event, Becoming a Mentor. We do have Stacy Nelson and Traci Dresher joining us this afternoon. So thank you, ladies, both. First, I would like to talk a little on Stacy. So Stacy currently serves on the board of Junior Achievement, a youth development program, and is a mentor through the Council Bluffs chapter of Teammates for the past 9 years. Additionally, Stacy is a member of the Omaha Network, a professional women's network group, and the last year helped form the first U.S. Bank Nebraska Southwest Iowa Region's Women Leadership Group. So welcome, Stacy, and thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Traci Dresher with TS Bank joining us as well. And Traci is the programs manager at TS Institute, a nonprofit entity of TS Bank. And prior to joining the team at TS Bank, Traci, in January of 2019, Traci worked for the Council Bluffs Community School District in several roles. While Traci was the Council Bluffs Schools coordinator for Teammates Mentoring, she built the program up to 190 students. a native of Council Bluffs, and Traci holds a BA in journalism and communications for Truman State University. She currently mentors and serves on the Teammates Advisory Board in Trainer, Iowa. So thank you, ladies, so much again for joining us. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to the both of you. I know that you guys have a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if Lori was able to get that pulled up.
Kim, did you send it to me?
I did. I sent it over in an email.
It hasn't come through.
Okay.
Stacy, is it possible you'd be able to share your screen?
You know, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to because I'm on my phone versus
All
on
right.
laptop. So,
Let me see if I can
okay.
find that here.
Well, while we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about my background as well. So I've actually been at US Bank for 27 years. And just like Carol, I started when I was 13. Luckily, you know, I've paid to hide my gray right now. I can still maybe say that. So no, I've had various leadership roles within the bank. You know, I graduated from AL, and my husband and I graduated from AL, and my son graduated from AL, and my daughter is now a sophomore at AL. So very passionate about women leaders in Council Bluffs because it's where I started. I've been, you know, had various manager positions from retail managing to now in wealth management. So it's been a pretty exciting ride, and I do appreciate this opportunity to talk to all of you. And honestly, all of you impress us more than Traci and I could ever. Hopefully, you know, Traci and I can share a little bit of our stories and maybe provide some insight on mentoring. But we know all of you are great mentors, and really you can probably give us some stories as well. So as we go through this, we're hoping that you will send messages in the chat box, and we can kind of have an open dialogue about maybe experiences that you've had in mentoring, because we not only want to talk about mentoring in the workplace, but mentoring our youth and some of the experiences that Traci and I have had. Formerly, I was on the board with Traci as well. So we've worked together for quite some time. And, you know, honestly, I totally, I'm in awe of Traci and her mentoring and some of the, you know, the passion that she puts into helping others. So with that, Traci, did you have a chance to get that pulled up?
Yeah, Lori or Kim, can one of you, I don't know which, has the ability to let me share my screen?
You should be able to share now.
It's disabled. Let me try it again. There we go. Okay. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we see.
You can see it. Okay. So before we jump into that real quick, what I wanted to say is more or less what Stacy just said. I'm humbled by the room of ladies that we have here today. And just thank you for taking some time to talk with Stacy and I and the rest of the group to share some best practices. And I'm impressed by the fact that so many of the people that I see on the screen are natives of Council Bluffs. And then we have some people that have decided to jump in, and everybody's pouring themselves into our community to make it better. So I appreciate that. Kim, I want to know, was it a joke when you decided to get Stacy and Traci? So I want you to say that fast, like 10 times, and make sure that you don't get jumbled up there. So anyway, Stacy, glad to be working alongside you again today. So can you guys see the page that says, why is mentorship impactful? Is that what you all see?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Stacy, do you want to start? And then we can.
Yeah. So
here.
Traci and I met last week, and, you know, I was putting this together, and I realized I probably need a mentor to teach me how to do PowerPoint. But anyways, you know, hopefully we just put down some ideas to kind of structure what we talk about today. And again, please chime in on anything that you have commented on. But, actually, Traci, I kind of, as we talked, the ripple effect, which is the top box there. Do you want to talk what that actually means in
Absolutely. Guys, it's really a very simple concept. I want you to just envision that you have a bowl of water and you drop from the top, and there's a drop of water that goes into the bowl. And what you see from there are ripples that go out. And mentoring is just that. We don't think about it as we get going with the process, but it has the effect across workplaces, across your families, friendships that you have, and even generations, to be honest with you. And one of the resources that I'll share with you at the end will talk to generational ripple effect. So I think, if anything, Stacy, you would agree that in order to share the wealth, you have to share of yourself.
Absolutely. And honestly, we talk about this a lot in teammates, but it can be in the workplace as well, about how we set expectations higher than what we think we can achieve, which kind of goes into this growth mindset, right? So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the differences between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I'll say, as I was putting together some thoughts on this, I thought, what do we do to our kids sometimes? We say, you're really good at math, so you should look into accounting, or you're really good at writing, or maybe you should look to be a journalist. When actually, we have found that a growth mindset, looking at things that you can learn, it's not about what you feel like you're capped at learning. It's about what you can learn will expand anybody's horizons, especially in leadership. I love reading a lot about the growth mindset in mentoring, because mentoring can really help you, open your horizons to what's possible. One quote that I read recently said, women set out with a purpose rather than a dream, right? So when we go to a mentoring relationship, we say, this is what we want to get out of it. And, that's the purpose, rather than thinking of and dreaming about what's possible. So we believe, and I think Traci can say this as well, that, mentoring does that. It helps you embrace challenges versus avoiding challenges. It can help you learn, help you understand that you can learn anything, rather than just say, well, I'm good at that, but I'm not good at that. And I even caught myself there, right, with the PowerPoint. But I just threw it together, and it's also that growth mindset allows you to admire others versus envying others. And I think that's so powerful. I try to teach that to my daughter every day in her sports. Let's admire those that can, dive for every ball and get it up, and versus those that, you felt like they were just born with it, having that growth mindset definitely, and having a mentor that understands the importance of a growth mindset is really impactful.
Stacy, what I would add to growth mindset, I'm a lover of quotes. And so I usually keep a cache of them, and sometimes can pull them out and apply them. The one I think of here for growth mindset is pretty simple. It says, a mentor sees in you what you don't until you do. Let me repeat that. They see in you what you don't until you do. So they're that person that is going to recognize and walk alongside you through the process of making you, and ultimately that mentor, a better person. So I think that's all about growth mindset. You don't see it, we're going to help you see it.
Right. And then kind of some of those other things that are on the page here is, inspirational, but overcoming fears. I've recently read a book by Abby Wambach called Wolfpack. I don't know if you've read it, but it's absolutely amazing. But I love this. In one of the chapters, she says, the old rule is play it safe, pass the ball. But the new rule is to believe in yourself and demand the ball. So it's about taking risks and overcoming those fears. And again, having a mentor that can help you along that way. is really going to be how you move yourself up the corporate ladder.
Sure. Stacy, I think with the overcoming fears notation, this is where it's, I think, appropriate to talk about vulnerability. And as women, I think that that's not something that we are charged to be vulnerable, especially in the workplace. And so one of the 3 resources that I'll recommend for you today, the other 2 I'll do at the end, is a TED Talk. And if you have not watched this one yet, I highly recommend it. It is by Brene Brown, and it talks about the power of vulnerability. And she talks about how being vulnerable can provide human connection. And that's where we empathize, that's where we belong with other people, and that's where we share best practices. And so I think it's whether we're doing it as being the vulnerable person or that mentor that is coming alongside, it's where we take the time to speak vision into each other's lives. And I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, so Brooke asked about the book. It's Abby Wambach, the soccer star that wrote that book. And it's a very short book, which I love, but it's super impactful.
Right. Stacy, let's go back to the inspiration notation here. I wanted to talk here about, here's the first time I want to ask you this. I want you guys to each think about someone who is a current or was a former mentor in your life. It could be in any arena. And the chances are, I would guess that they were a mentor or they will be for just a certain season of your life. And the best way to explain that is with a metaphor. You think about a brand new building that's going up. And as the building is going up, there's scaffolding along the side that's going to be there to support and help and build that building. And that's what I consider a mentor, because once that building is done, the scaffolding comes down. And then you're kind of on your own, but sometimes you need repairs. And so that mentor will come alongside you again. And so that's something that you need, that inspiration at certain times in your life. And then sometimes those mentors kind of fall to the wayside, but you pull them back in as necessary.
I love that. I think we can go to the next page probably, Traci, just to kind of talk about, where do you look for mentors? I don't know if you called it, but
See what I got.
yeah, how do you choose a mentor?
Is that the one you want, Stace?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Can
I
you
think
see that?
a lot of times we think about mentors and we think truly, I'm just going to reach out to somebody I work with. For instance, US Bank, what's great about private wealth management that I'm in is that they assign you a peer mentor. Now, I would maybe not agree that that person is truly a mentor. It is truly someone that you can, I can definitely talk to, without feeling judged about how would you deal with this situation. But you've got to have those people as well. You've got to have those people that you can just bounce, your true feelings, authentic self, and make sure that you're, that you have that open communication. But we've never established a trust. I was assigned Kristen Aikenbauer that lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, as my peer mentor. I've never met her in my life, but we've developed this rapport, this relationship to where I can now say she's my mentor. But that's what's, this slide is really just to kind of open your eyes to look at things, not necessarily internally with your own work, but look external, look in the community. Do you need a public figure or do you want it to be a private mentorship? Do you have another female as your mentor or do you look for a male as your mentor? So this is really just to open your eyes on those options.
The thing that I would compliment you there, Stacy, is last week, TS Bank actually brought in a guest speaker. They do that quarterly. And we were blessed to have Dr. Deli Davies from UNMC He's a specialist in pediatrics, and he gave us a quote, and it's so great. He said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need a new room, or you need to check yourself. I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful. And what that says is that you want to bring people alongside you that not only complement you, but supplement you in those areas where you have opportunities, because we're all better together.
Absolutely. I don't know if I have any real comments on this. If anyone has a comment about, I've had female mentors. Honestly, I've had a lot of male mentors. I've had clients that I found to be inspirational to me, that I've asked for that mentorship. I will say at US Bank that it was important that we focused on lifting women leaders. And there was, and I'll talk a little bit about this at the end, sponsorship versus mentorship. But some of our top leaders chose someone, another leader within the company that they wanted to mentor. And I thought that it really was a great program. It wasn't anything that was, truly, it wasn't prescripted. We could kind of go off the cuff and let it be what we wanted it to be. But I do say it was a good idea. It was a good idea.
All right, so that moves us to the screen to talk about what a mentor should provide. And the very first one talks about dedicated time. Now, if you've heard this before, you know why this is important, but Coach Tom Osborne tells us in the many times that we're blessed to sit in front of him and hear him tell stories, that at a bank, we can get, Stacy and I, we work at a bank now, so it's kind of funny. There's more money that can come through, right? But the one thing that we can't make is more time. And so really that's the most precious thing that we have to give somebody. So if you allow yourself to sit across from someone else and carve out a piece of time in your day and in your life, there's really no greater gift that you can give.
The other thing that he does say, and again, I could quote Tom Osborne with so many things, but he says, living a life of service gives you purpose and meaning. So think about that. So you giving something to another person, and we're again kind of talking about dedicated time here. On the surface, looks like it's really not anything that you will get out of it. Honestly, being a mentor to someone gives you it fills your bucket. And so I really, when he, talks about mentorship and the importance of mentorship and really, we'll talk about this in the next slide a little bit too, but, just showing up for that person is really impactful, not only to the person you mentor, but yourself. But I do want to say, when we talk about what should a mentor provide, we've already kind of talked a little bit about, that growth mindset, but it's really, again, about having those courageous conversations. But I do like the ability to really focus on your strengths. I'm a true believer in the strengths-based leadership. And it's about sharing those things with your mentor to say, this is what I've done. This is what I've proven I can do. This is what I'm ready to do again. But cataloging those strengths and then and identifying what sets you apart. So one exercise I thought was fun that my mentor at one time asked me to do is said, ask 10 people for 3 adjectives that describe you. And it's really interesting because one person said busy. And I'm like, I'm not busy. I can multitask or whatever, but it really does these, and also I will say this too, ask people that know you and like you. I know that there's other people that don't have the growth mindset, and may not see, things the same way as you do. But I do think that knowing what your superpowers are important. And so that's why I love, even though I say have courageous conversations, don't always focus on, I think women do that. They focus on their worst critic, right? And it's really about focusing on what you're good at and how you can draw on those strengths.
Stacy, I'm so glad you talked about superpowers. I hadn't heard that in a while. So everyone in this room has a superpower, and I think that's a great way to find it. I have never heard that being asked. Go to 10 people and give 3 words as adjectives. That's great. So a couple things that I want to touch on. Let me ask this first. Can you see me, or in place of me right now, do you see the PowerPoint?
We
I
can
can-
see you, Tracy.
You can see us?
We can see you and the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. So I wanted to kind of play off Stacy on 2 things. You talked about positivity. And so that actually is relative to the second resource that I wanted to share with you guys today. And I'm not sure if you can see this. It's called How Full Is Your Bucket? And this is by Tom Rath and Donald Clifton. And so there's two things here. Stacy, you referenced strengths. So if you purchase this book, you'll get a code, and you can take a short survey that out of 52 strengths, you can ask your 10 friends too, but this will also give you your top 5. And so that code comes with the book. On top of the book is chocked full of drops in the bucket, as Stacy referenced. Every interaction that you have, you either give to the bucket or you take away from the bucket. There's nothing in between. So as a mentor, we want to make sure that we're always dropping in the bucket, even if it is a courageous conversation and it's a tough conversation. You want to approach that in an area where that person can still learn and grow. So Stacy, thank you for referencing that.
I will say, and also, again, Wolfpack, I just love the book. Again, this chapter said the old rule is to lead with dominance, create followers. But the new rule is to lead with humanity and cultivate leaders. Think about that. Being your authentic self and truly leading with humanity, but not, again, we need to be humble. When I talk about all these, grow on your strengths, and really know what they are. But we've got to have that balance between, being humble about our strengths and really knowing how we can take things to the next level. I love this too. And it was in the book as well. And her quote, this is directly from Abby. It said, "The most inspiring thing on earth is a woman who believes in herself, who gives 100%, and who owns her greatness unapologetically." I love that. I love that. It's powerful.
Absolutely. And I think that, is it the next page where we talk about where to find a mentor, Stacy?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to that. How do you become a mentor? One thing I want to talk about here is a mentor is like a close friend, in that when you meet someone for the first time, you don't automatically know this person is going to be pivotal in my life. They're going to be a great friend. They actually, it's a process that develops over time. And you can identify someone, as we talk about mentors, that you believe that person would compliment me, they would lift me up. And it goes back to that whole piece where you talk about iron sharpens iron. So we've talked about some of these pieces. We can just add to them, Stacy, as we go along here, but be open. So we've referenced vulnerability, and you don't have to be entirely vulnerable just to be open. See it, say it. This is a huge one for me. And this goes to just life, not just mentorship, but if you see something that's positive in a person, don't just think it, because it's no good unless you give it away. If you see it, say it, tell that person. And then Stacy, we've talked about showing up. Time is that most important piece, that gift that you can give that person next to you or coming alongside you.
I
What are
agree.
some- Go ahead, Stace.
And one thing, and honestly, I just listened to Coach Osborne yesterday. So again, I have these stuck in my head a little bit too. But, he mentioned, we're talking a lot about mentors in the workforce and how to, even move up in your career. But I want us also really to think about the youth. Coach Osborne said, you know what, I'm not so much worried about the Ukraine or politics or, COVID, or any of those things, but I'm concerned about our youth. And I think that's important. If you really want to, learn more about yourself, just really consider mentoring a young person in any capacity. It can be through teammates, big brothers, big sisters, whatever, however you want to do that, consider doing that. Because, when I think of, all these things of, be open, show up, a lot of times these kids don't have stability in their life and they just need somebody to show up once a week to listen. And I think one little box that we don't have there is listening. I think so much, we think about the next thing we're going to say versus listening to what was said. And so I've really, me personally, I feel like I am a good listener, but I'm trying to step up in that regard. And I think the people that I do mentor, I really have been, how can I listen better? I write down, as they're talking, I'm writing things down. And then once that, I have a hard time with silence, I have a hard time with dead space, and then I really almost let it get uncomfortable. I'll let it get uncomfortable for a good 10 seconds before I respond. And like, do you want my input on that? It's really, I've learned that from my mentors, and it's something that I've been able to pass down as well.
Stacy, it's interesting you say that, whether you're mentoring an adult or a student, like we've talked about with teammates today. Talk about the ripple effect. Do you see how Stacy and I have referenced Coach Osborne so many times today? I guess it's a ripple effect for us. What I would tell you is that students specifically that I've mentored in the past, I've had several that I've got to sit with, and some of them aren't really good conversationalists. So there's two things that you get out of this, kind of like what you see in that conversation and what you see in our youth today. They're not so much good at asking questions because they're talking the whole time. But sometimes as a mentor, isn't that what we have to do? We're not there. Sometimes we're just there to listen, like you said. And that student or that adult that is next to us, they just want to talk about what's on their mind and get it out. And so being a good listener is paramount to being a good mentor. All right, so Stacy, go to the next one here, and you can reference the quote that you have for us.
And actually, Traci, I'm going to have you read it because it's so small on my phone.
Okay, yes, absolutely. So the quote says, "A mentor gives you advice about how you get ahead. A sponsor, on the other hand, has power and uses it to get you a great assignment. Women are often over-mentored and under-sponsored." And that is by Hermina Ibarra. She is a Cora-chaired professor of leadership and learning.
So this was a concept, that in the past few years, US Bank is really focused on understanding the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. And I thought it was really impactful because I have always looked for mentors. I've never really thought about what a sponsor is. Now the difference is a sponsor is someone that has a seat at the table to move your name forward or move you forward in your either, in your current job or, outside of your current company. They give you the air support. They're your advocate. A mentor, as you know, is kind of that person that we've talked about, cultivates your positivity, looks for opportunities, try to refine your skills, make sure that they're providing the support that you need. Whereas a sponsor is aware of your skills, and they actually stand to benefit from your from your help. So I think that that's important too. Sponsors, unlike mentors, will level with you. They'll give you unvarnished feedback on your executive presence, because you walking around, you would be walking around with their brand on, because they were the ones that put your name in the hat. So a lot of times we have mentors that really have no seat at the table, that they're not going to be the one to say, hey, Stacy would be great for that job. So I think it's really, having a pack, I'm going to say again, like my favorite book, but, having a pack of mentors and sponsors is really important in a career, in my opinion. Just curious, has anyone else heard of the sponsorship and read any of the books on sponsorship?
Stacy, it was interesting to me when you and I got together last week and kind of talked about what we would go over today. And Stacy was referencing mentorship versus sponsorship. And I couldn't put my head around it at first. And then all she needed to say to me was, this is that person that has a seat at the table. And so that made me think about my early years. In my 20s, I actually had somebody that was both a mentor and a sponsor. And I didn't even really know it. I think I knew it, but I don't think that I had the word sponsorship attached to that person. And so that was very eye-opening. And I think it's a good way to look at the people that are in our lives today and kind of look at them. Is this a mentor and a sponsor? And where do they fit in? And how can I leverage that to move myself forward?
Yeah. So when Kim asked to do this about mentoring, I was like, yes, absolutely. Love talking about mentoring, but I love this book. It's called Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor. And it honestly, in the book, it does not talk about forgetting a mentor. It talks about the importance of mentorship as well, but it talks really about, the sponsorship. And this is by Sylvia Ann Hewlett. And I couldn't believe, I probably have 20 earmarked pages in this book about things that were impactful to me. Couple other things I'll say about sponsorship. Really, a sponsor, you don't go up to somebody and say, hey, will you sponsor me? Will you put my name in the hat? You have to earn this. You have to earn this. So a couple examples I think about, I was asked to kind of help create a women's leadership group at US Bank. And a lot of you may have already heard this story. And I was asked with 10 other women, to say, will you be the board? And we don't know what this looks like, but this is kind of, we feel it's important that women have this, I'm going to say pact, people that they could go to, and we try to develop some leadership skills. So we meet as a group, and I am like, this is where I'm going to try to earn some sponsorship here, and I raised my hand to lead the group, and as well as this Caitlin Shank, who's amazing at US Bank as well. And together, it was really, all the things that I've learned throughout the years of showing up, being prepared, and giving more than what's expected. So I think that, and honest, I've definitely made my impact here, and it's been amazing. We went from last year, we had 30 women that wanted to be part of the group. And because we could do it virtually, we had everyone join. And we also had we had an application process. The manager had to also, quote unquote, sponsor them. But this year we have 45 women, actually almost 50 women that wanted to be part of the group. So it's just really, really cool that, sponsorship is something that you have to fight for. You have to earn that you have to earn their support, somebody advocating for you. And I look at, I'll just say one other comment too. I look at boards, there's a lot of times we all serve on different boards within our communities. And sometimes, we know who those people on those boards who understand the concept of sponsorship. You're not only just showing up, providing the decisions that need to be made for that organization, but when you take a leadership position, I can guarantee that you are gaining some sponsors within that room. So anyways, I just have found the power of sponsorship as well as the mentors that I've had along the way.
Stacy, thank you. I definitely can feel the energy that you have for sponsorship. And ladies, there are 35 plus of you on this chat. Dare I say that there's probably some sponsors / mentors to be found because we all need extra caring adults in our life. And so if anything, I'm just going to close out with a few thoughts, and then Stacy, you can do the same. And then Kim, I don't know if we're taking questions or maybe answering some from the side from there, perhaps. But so you've heard repetition teaches. So I'm going to ask you one more time. I want you to ask yourself, who was or is that mentor in your life? Was or has been? And my second question is, when was the last time that you actually told that person the impact that they made on your life? So my request of you, homework, if you will, is when we leave today, in the next couple of days, reach out to that person and let them know what they've done for you and how they've impacted your life. That's that ripple effect that we're talking about. You're going to be glad you did, because mentors, I want you to thank one, and I want you to be one. Those are the things that I want you to take away from today, if nothing else. And the last thing that I'll say, one more, it sounds like a plug, but today is Tom Osborne's 85th birthday, okay? He founded Teammates Mentoring Program in 1991 while he was still a coach at the University of Nebraska, where he was for 25 years. He and his wife, Nancy Osborne, saw that there was an opportunity for mentors for young men. And now Teammates is for young girls and boys alike. But in Mentoring Matters, he references that ripple effect, and he will tell you a powerful story that resonates through his family. And think about the other things that Tom Osborne has done with his life. He was a head coach for 25 years. He was in Congress for about 6 years. You'd think he'd be done at that point, but then he came back and he was the athletic director at the University of Nebraska before he retired in 2013. So he's brought a lot of people on the way. I know that he's brought Stacy and he's brought myself. Stacy, thank you for your time today. I've gotten to work with Stacy in the past, and she is a powerful advocate for students and adults in our community. So thank you.
And Traci, the same to you. I've always, we were lucky to have Traci as an executive director for our Teammates program. And I feel very lucky to work with her, and the passion that she has about the youth in our community is really amazing. And I know she's continuing that even in her job at TS Bank. I should have mentored her earlier and got her over to US Bank, but that's, I give Kyle a hard time about that all the time. But, I just want to close out with, this, Abby Wambach also says in her book, this was a quote from actually the Jungle Book that I love. And it said, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." So what I'm going to task you all to do is to find your pack, find those mentors, find those sponsors that can help lift you up and, help build on your strengths. We are amazing women. I have no doubt every one of you on this call is looking to take on the next adventure and to open your horizons and to have that growth mindset. So hopefully you will share some of those stories with us, because honestly, I think that this is what it's about. We have to lean on each other, and we've got to celebrate our successes. And I'm always willing to get together to celebrate. So with that, I don't know, I'll turn it over to Kim to see if there was any questions in the chat that we missed.
First off, I just want to say thank you so much, Stacy and Traci, for all the wonderful information that you ladies provided us today. I know you both have such a great impact on our community, so thank you both. I do have one question. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. So you have referenced, mentors and sponsorship, and a lot of women, reach out, or they may have somebody within their employer or their business, who they reach out to as their mentor or their sponsor. But so who would you suggest, or what would you recommend for, the women that may be on this call that does not have a sponsor or does not have a mentor?
So I will say one thing that I did that was really out of the box. So I applied for a job that I didn't really want, but I knew it would give me access to a manager that I wanted to reach out to. And so no better time than in an hour, and ended up being 2-hour interview, to really get to share what my strengths are and find out if there was opportunities out there. So think outside the box when you're looking for a mentor or a sponsor. It may be, if you're brave enough to do an interview, that hey, you maybe you would land the job, and maybe you would find that you wanted to do that. But I do think that mentorship, you really do have to ask for. Sponsorship, you have to prove yourself. And once you find out who your sponsors are, continue to shine light and share the things that you're doing. But I wouldn't say don't have too many mentors. I mean, you really, they do say 3 mentors is kind of what you look for. 1 inside your company, 1 outside your company, and then 1, it's a 2 + 1 wheel. 1 in your line of sight, 1 in a different department, and 1 outside your firm. So I think that's honestly was the best advice that I received when I was actually looking for mentors as well.
Stacy, if you would, we had a conversation, you and I, where you were in a meeting in a room with somebody and you noticed something. I think it was in a gentleman that you were telling me, but you noticed it was an area that you wanted to learn something else about. And that's a great way to tell these ladies how to grab a mentor. Do you remember that story you were telling me?
Right. So, I mean, I'll tell you, in my job, I meet with some very amazing people as a private wealth advisor. And so I'll tell you, this client had done a lot of things for the community. And honestly, he wasn't very nice to me at first. He told me, and not to reveal really, who he was, but I'll tell you, he was very inspirational. And he asked me what my age was, and I told him, and he said, well, when you turn 50, you will have your certificate of experience, and I'm giving you that certificate of experience. And I said, oh, well, that's great. Thank you. So anyways, I leave. Of course, I'm got, red face, nervous from talking to him this whole time. But you know what? I got the nerve up to call him after that meeting and said, you know what? I want you to know how much I appreciate all that you have done in this city and all the things. And I want you to know that I really look up to you. And I hope that you can help me in my new career as this private wealth advisor in seeing those things and really recognizing those things. And you know what he said? Yes. And later, I will tell you, later he wrote a book and I couldn't believe it. He wrote inside the book, he's like, to my favorite banker. So I will tell you, it's really about, not everyone's going to say yes, they're, yeah, we'll help you. But when they think of something and then they send you a quick email to say, hey, you might want to read this, then you know that you've gained that mentorship.
I think what I would say here, Stace, with that particular story is that we all know that growth can be uncomfortable. and you were looking to grow. And that was definitely you putting yourself in a vulnerable position by approaching him, given that your first experience with him probably wasn't the best. So kudos to you, and thank you for sharing that story.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Can I just tell a quick story on sponsorship? So back in '99, when I first came back to Council Bluffs from Texas to open my business, I didn't know a damn thing about running a business, and I didn't know anybody in this town other than family who all worked for the post office. So, you know, they weren't necessarily ins. And I joined the Chamber of Commerce early, and I was at a chamber after hours. And I walked up and introduced myself to Tom Whitson. For those of you that don't know Tom Whitson, he was the former owner and president CEO of People's National Bank. And he hired me to do some work for him and showed me the way and brought me in when American National bought People's to do some work early on in that. And then the American National people kind of went, you know, that's Tom's consultant, let's move her out. And all along, he was there in helping me finance my house. No one wants to give, you know, $120,000 to an entrepreneur, right? And so he helped me do that and was there all along. I tell him that all the time, but we never had that official. I didn't call him that. We didn't identify relationship as that, but that was how it served. And so you don't always have to call them that. And the other thing too is when you're at chamber events, go talk to the people that you don't know. Go introduce yourself. Go say hello. We have a tendency to show up at these things and go right into the group of the people that we already know because it's comfortable. And if it's not uncomfortable, it's not growth. You have to step out of that zone. And the other thing is, you know, I put it in Zoom, just start commenting and say what you think and connect with other people any way that you can, because you never know where those connections can lead. My biggest client right now, I met in 2000 when we served on a committee together in a professional organization. And she's now vice president of HR of a major company in Omaha, and they're my biggest client. And they have spawned off two of my next biggest clients because employees left and liked what I did, and it took me there. So you never know where a relationship will lead. Make sure you get yourself spread out. I'm done.
Love it. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carol. Is there still an echo?
Yes.
Sorry, ladies.
So turn the phone that you have, turn the phone or the computer, turn the volume off on that, but also turn the microphone off on that.
Are you there? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I had it the way you told me, Carol, but then is it back?
Yeah, it's okay.
I need a new computer. Okay, well, sorry that you guys have to listen to echo. Just deal with me for a few minutes. Again, I just want to thank all of you ladies for joining us today. Our sponsors, Brooke Hubbard at the Hub, PCCF, Rachel Moorhead, and Carol with Synchronicity. We do these events quarterly. And our next event is going to be at PACE in April, and it's going to be on human sex trafficking. So it'll be a really good informational one to come to.
Did we lose her? Well, I'm on the committee too. So Rachel and Brooke, I see you guys too. Kim, we can't hear you at all. But everybody's invited to the meeting at PACE. We'd love to see you there for our next session in regards to trafficking. Will probably be a much heavier topic, obviously, than today was, but we really are excited and think it's important that women in the community especially understand kind of what's going on. So Didn't mean to take over, Kim, but.
Oh, that's awesome. Is Lori Shields still on here? If not, Stacy, I think we could probably close it out. Ladies, thank you for coming today. Thank you for carving out a piece of your time today. And please reach out to Stacy or I or any of us here if you have any questions or want to have any further conversations. Stacy?
Yes, absolutely. Again, thank you so much. You know, it was a pleasure getting to share some of these ideas with you. And if you have any stories to tell, please share them with us. We'd appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.